Hi guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster, and I wanted to have a little chat today about bushcraft kit, or kit for bushcraft, and in particular budget kit versus more expensive or custom kit. Now, there was a little bit of controversy over a video that I published a little while ago about two types of bushcraft knives, one of the cheaper brands and one of the more expensive ones. And I just kind of wanted to put a video out today just discussing the sort of the merits of both sides, and just to give my personal thoughts really a little bit about those different types of kit. So basically, first and foremost, for me personally, and I think for a lot of others out there as well, kit is very much a personal preference. You know, you certainly don't need really expensive kit to be able to practice bushcraft, and I certainly don't mean to suggest that anybody does. But again, if you want to go out and buy that slightly more expensive gear, you know, you by all means do. But I think really, you know, starting off with knives, so in particular I did a video about the Mora clipper, or Mora heavy duty should I say, which is a really good knife. It costs about £15 online, and it's a really good knife, and it is very good for bushcraft. I've also got the Ramir's bushcraft knife, which is again a lovely knife, and it's considerably more expensive. Now the point I want to make really is that the expensive knife, or any more expensive kit, will not make you better at bushcraft, and I want to say that sort of right from the very beginning, because I think a few people that made comments on my other video may have got a little bit confused as to what I was trying to, what points I was trying to make. So you know, an expensive knife is all well and good, and the one thing I will say, and it was a conversation I had with a friend following that video, is that I do find that I tend to take more care of an expensive bit of equipment just because it's expensive. That's not to say I don't take care of the cheaper ones, but you know, you do find that you will use them, or I certainly find I will use a more expensive piece of kit with a little bit more care, because I know it's worth a little bit more money. That said, I mean, especially if you're starting out with bushcraft, or if you're on a particularly tight budget, or just if you don't want to spend too much money, which you know a lot of people don't want to in this day and age, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And if you buy a more budget piece of equipment, and it does the job, and that's the difference really, is you can buy really cheap pieces of equipment, and some of them, you know, the old saying, you get what you pay for, but there are some really budget brands out there who are absolutely phenomenal. They're really good quality, and as long as you go with something like that, so using the Mora example again, you know, they're a really good manufacturer, and I really do rate them. So you know, you buy a Mora knife, and I know people who have had a Mora for 10-15 years or more, and it's still going strong. They've never had any problems with it, and they're very good for learning to use a knife, learning safe knife skills. And what I tend to find, a lot of people I know, a lot of people I practice bushcraft with, after a certain amount of time, they make a decision to upgrade and buy a nicer version of whatever it is that they've been using. So the Mora is a very good example, you know, which is say £15. Now you can buy a very good quality custom-made bushcraft knife for around the £100 mark. And I know a lot of people I know, a very good friend of mine in fact, I bought him a bushcraft knife for his birthday a couple of years ago. It cost about £100, and it was a joint present between me and a couple of other people. And he absolutely loves it. He didn't need the knife. He had a perfectly good, you know, cheaper knife beforehand, but he really appreciated it, and he loves using it. But I suppose what I'm trying to say is that, you know, with the budget side of things, you can buy budget, and that will be absolutely fine, you know, for the entirety of you using it for bushcraft. But if you do, as a personal preference, and this is what it boils down to, if personally you would like a slightly nicer, more expensive piece of kit, I personally don't feel there's anything wrong with that. There are a few people out there who seem to think that you know, bushcraft should be done completely on a budget, and if that's your opinion, that's absolutely fine. But there are others, myself included, who do like to upgrade and get slightly nicer quality kit. It's probably the magpie factor. You know, I do quite like nice new shiny things sometimes. And then moving away from knives, you know, you've got saws and axes and tools in general. You know, certain tools you will get a better quality tool if you pay more money. Saws is a good example of this. Axes is another. You can buy a very cheap axe from a DIY store, and it will not be as good a quality as something like Gransfors, which is my personal favourite brand. You've got Hultafors, who are again another Swedish axe maker, who also make knives in fact. But they are both very, very good quality brands. You can pick up one of their axes anything between sort of 35, 40 pounds all the way up to sort of 70 or 80 pounds. But they are built to last. And I certainly find they retain an edge slightly better, they are better made, and they allow me to do a little bit more than maybe a cheap £5 or £10 axe from a DIY store. But I mean, really guys, you know, kit is for me personal preference, as I've already said, and anybody else, you know, it's all down to your personal preference. You know, if you're happy using budget brands, by all means carry on doing so. If you do want to upgrade, I think, you know, that's perfectly acceptable. But again, the point I want to sort of reiterate is that if you're new to bushcraft, or even if you've been doing bushcraft for a while, going out buying an expensive piece of equipment to replace a cheaper one will not necessarily mean that you can do any more with it. It's not going to make you a better bushcrafter. To me, bushcraft, certainly when using tools and things like that, you know, it's all down to the skills that you've learned. And if your skills are at such and such level here, buying a more expensive knife will not make your skills jump up here. It just won't happen, and I think people need to realise that and understand that before going out and spending a lot of money. I mean, you can go out looking at something slightly different. You can go out and buy maybe a stove, a little gas stove burner, and you can buy one for £5 or £10, nice cheap budget version, and you can boil a pot on it and it will work absolutely fine. You can go out and spend more money. You can spend 50, 80, £100 on a burner, and that's where the differences start coming in, because something like that, the extra money that you're paying goes into the design and the materials. So a lot of the things you can buy that are more expensive are down to weight. So you can buy something made out of stainless steel, which is perfectly good for the job, or you can spend some more money and buy something that's made from titanium. Now, it won't make the tool itself any more efficient, or the piece of kit, but what it will do is it will reduce the weight that you're carrying with you, and a lot of people are very keen on that. But again, something like a stove, if you do buy a more expensive model, it's because they have been designed to be more efficient. So you'll find that maybe a very cheap stove will take 5 minutes to boil a litre of water, and a more expensive one will maybe only take 2.5 minutes. So again, with some bits of kit, you know, it will give you a genuine benefit. In terms of tools and things that you're having to physically use and rely on your skills will not improve just because you've bought a more expensive piece of kit. So I've been rambling on for a little while now, guys, but hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I mean, just to recap, you know, buying more expensive, my view, personal preference. You know, you will not be a better bushcrafter by buying more expensive kit, though it may make you sort of, you know, treat your tools with a little bit more care. But to be perfectly honest, you know, if you want to upgrade, I personally don't see anything wrong with that, and I think anybody that tells you differently, you know, if that's what they want to do, that's fine, but I don't believe that people should sort of be able to say to other people, you know, you shouldn't be buying that expensive piece of kit, because that means you're, you know, you somehow, you know, forgot the essence of bushcraft, which I don't think is the right attitude to have. But any comments or questions you guys have got, by all means drop them below. Happy to answer or have a discussion about anybody else's views and thoughts. Hit subscribe if you'd like to see more of this, and I hope to see you all next time. Thanks, guys.